changing lives.
Good evening, wonderful viewers, and welcome back to another enlightening episode on the Consulting Room. We are so glad you get to join us every Monday from 8 to 9 p.m. We're live on Hope Channel Ghana. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. Please share the link and get people to join as we learn together. I'm Dr. Na Aikanko Inu. The eyes are said to be the windows to the soul. But some of us are ignoring our eye health. When was the last time you got your eye checked? Have you ever imagined what life would be like or how life would change if you lost sight in one or even both eyes? And even worse, if it were from a preventable cause. That's exactly why we're here tonight, to raise awareness on a very important condition. Our topic for today is eyes with no vision, glaucoma in perspective. And as usual, we bring you the experts to talk about the conditions. So with me tonight, I have Dr. Augustine Derry, and he's an optometrist with a Third Eye Care and Vision Center. Dr. Derry, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And then also we have Dr. Yao Obing Benson, also an optometrist with Gocal's Healthy Options at North Ridge. You're both welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I believe you're eager for us to start this discussion. So please, you can share the link, as I said, and you can join in this conversation by sending in your comments and questions as we go along. We would love to hear from you. Please do stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Calling all churches, join the National Bible Bee.
You will think that the Messiah appears only in the New Testament. But which text? In the Old Testament, the Anglican Church of Ghana.
Isaiah chapter 53, verse 4 to 7.
And that is correct. So 15 words are scattered on a crossword sheet. They would need to identify all the words within 3 minutes. Now, the person who finishes within the time first also win an extra 3 points.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to participate in the National Bible Bee. Register your church today and inspire the youth in your congregation to dive deep into God's Word. Register now and inspire the next generation. For more information, contact us at 0248 176916 or 0508 080774. Email nbbghana@gmail.com. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the youth within your church community. The National Bible Bee, implanting the living word through the written word.
Hope Channel is my favorite Christian channel. The best thing about it is that you can have it everywhere you go. All you need to do is to download the Hope Channel app on your Play Store or Apple Store and get all the programs you want to watch.
Welcome back from the commercial break. This is a consulting room, and tonight we are talking about glaucoma, eyes with no vision, glaucoma in perspective. So to our doctors, you're welcome again. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So you're the specialist in eye.
Okay.
So I believe you're coming to give us all the gist on glaucoma.
Yeah.
But we'll start from the eye, basics. What is the eye? We see people have, we have two eyes. We see the white, we see people have black, brown, blue, green. What exactly is the eye?
Okay.
So I'll start with Dr. Derry.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, thanks for the question. So when we talk about the eye, simply the eye is the organ in the body that we use to see. Or if you'd like to put it simply, it's that organ in our body that can detect light energy.
Okay.
And then we can use the light energy to be able to make visual sense of our environment. So, I mean, it goes without saying that we all know what the eye is and where it is located. The two balls here. Every human being normally will be expected to have two eyes. So each eye will see its own image.
Okay.
No, there's no copy.
Okay.
You know, one eye sees, the other eye sees, they compare notes, the brain fuses it into one full construct of what we are perceiving from the environment.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So just a little bit, then I'll let my colleague continue.
Okay.
When we look at the eye generally, the eye actually is a ball that we see that sits in a bony socket in our head.
Okay.
So there is an eyeball here that has the black and the white surrounding the black. Around it are certain structures also that protect it. Apart from the bone in our head that the eye sits inside, we have the eyelids around. We have other tissues around, you know, just in case somebody decides to blow you, it can cushion some of the shock and all of that. Then we'll have the eyeball too. I think I'll stop here and then allow him to continue with the eyeball.
Okay. So Dr. Benson, you can continue then.
So for the eyeball, everyone sees a white ball in there, and then you definitely see something that looks like black. Even though in some people it's not black, it's actually brown, but the pigment looks like black from afar. And so that's how the ball is. The brown part or the black part that you'll be seeing also contributes to how you're seeing actually. So that's the iris, and then it opens up to allow light to enter.
Okay.
So as we see things, the light entering the eyes go through that space, and then it goes through the lens in the eye, which makes us see, and then that falls to the back. In simple terms, the retina, that's the back of the eye, where the light will now be sent as impulse messages from that part to the brain for the brain to interpret and then let us know what we're seeing.
Okay. So apart from blindness, we are all very familiar with blindness. What other conditions could affect the eye? Maybe I'll continue with Dr. Benson.
Okay. So apart from blindness, a lot of other conditions. I mean, starting from trauma, that happens almost every time. So you get accidents in the kitchen, at work, and all that. And so that is one. And there are people who are also not seeing very well. So you see people wearing glasses around for them to see very well. Some of them have refractive errors. And so the images are not forming very well on the retina. And so that's for those people. And then other conditions like cataract that you can have, and then glaucoma, as we are going to be talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to add, Dr. Derry?
Oh, well, there are so many conditions. You know, blindness will be, if we should say, the ultimate or culmination of all bad things that could probably happen to the eye. So anything that will harm the eye is sort of on its way to making it blind. If anything affects the front of the eye, the front part where we see as black, it would actually affect the way we see. If it affects the retina, there are so many things, but then blindness sort of sums all that then up. Into the finality of the destruction of the eye.
And when is the right age to get your eye checked, and how often should I get my eye checked?
Oh, it's a very simple question. I love to answer this question actually. Lots of people ask me this question a lot. The right time to check your eyes is when you have eyes. Yes, so long as you have eyes, we should be able to tell if they are in good condition or not. So when a baby is born, I would say that at least practically, in the first 6 months of life, you should have your child's eye checked.
Okay.
First 6 months. After that, you can make it a yearly habit to just walk into your eye doctor's office, optometrist, and let him just take a look to see that everything is developing as expected. Yes. When it has to do with maybe older people, we could do maybe, let's say the working class, every 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but when you are getting to the very old senior citizenship status, from the 60 going, then we would advise that you do it yearly again, because you know that around that time things can deteriorate real quick. Yeah. Okay. So no one should. There is no time. Maybe the child is too young. We usually have in our Ghanaian parlance, in Chile, say Usadodo, you know, he's too young. No, even if he cannot talk, the doctor may be able to see some signs. Yeah. Yes, it may not be all very accurate, but I mean, the doctor have a very good look at the state of the eye and advice. Okay, okay. So maybe this question is a bit technical, so maybe you can simplify it for us. Are there different kinds of eye tests, and what should you expect when you're going for an eye test? Dr. Benson. Okay,
so usually for a comprehensive test, you first want to see how the eyes are seeing. Okay. And so you do the reading. When you walk in, we tell you to cover one eye to read, just for us to see the extent of vision in the eyes. Okay. And then the other tests also come in, and so you do a full exam with the instruments to see the structures. So what we mentioned that are contributing for you to see, you look at every single one of them. You look at the anterior part, and then you look at the back to be sure that the vessels there are intact. And then we check the pressures also with different machines, which are also tests to be done. Okay. And in the case of some conditions where you want to see the extent of field of vision, we do the visual field assessments and then other related tests too. Okay, okay.
There may be other advanced tests that some people will not notice or know that we can do in the eye clinic as well. Color vision testing to add to, maybe he mentioned the field of vision. That's how wide can you see if you are looking straight ahead. Okay. So if something is coming from the side, are you able to notice quickly? So we also check your color vision. Not everybody sees colors like the way we see colors. Yes, that's amazing. I know people, not everybody sees the same way that we see it. And then there's also check for contrast sensitivity. Okay. Yes. How sharp or how dim is, how saturated one color from another. We do all those kinds of things. There are several tests that you do. Okay. How well are your two eyes working? Binocular vision assessment. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Yeah. But people think that if you are coming to the eye clinic, it's just about close one eye, read, close one eye, read, I can see. But there is actually a whole lot. Yeah. And the eye exam can actually also tell a lot about what is happening in your body. Yeah. Yeah. The eye is the window to the body. It's a very profound statement.
Yeah. So, eye health, what are some basic tips for us to ensure we have optimum eye health? Dr. Benson.
So, we've mentioned one already, not neglecting having eye exam periodically. And so it's very important. And in conditions like this, I mean, this season that we find ourselves in, the weather is dry, so we have to protect the eyes. Sometimes you have to wear something to protect the eyes from the extreme conditions out there, and then taking more water. Generally, if we want to keep our eyes safe, we should also be looking at avoiding some basic accidents that can come our way. Okay. And so at our workplaces, in the home, things that can be injurious to the eyes, we try to stay away from them. At least when we are doing this, we are sure that we are keeping the eyes safe. Yeah, yeah. So actually, that was my next question. What are some common practices that might damage the eye?
Yeah. I mean, if you are using something for what it's intended for, in the condition it's intended for, we don't expect it to come to much harm. But then when you use it, when you abnormally use it, definitely something will happen. Yeah. If you are, some practices that are not very good, for example, watching TV, the screen and all of that in a dark place, mismatched. It's a very good practice for you to have a screen or any visual display unit in an ambient light that matches what you're seeing.
Okay.
Yes, there's a very good practice. He mentioned going to see the doctor. So the harmful practice is not going when you are supposed to go, not to follow your review. You see a lot of people, let me see you in a month, and in 2 years you are not seeing the person. Yes, and those are very bad habits that people do, and not using their spectacles that we give them often. It's a very little basic thing, but so I use it only when I'm in class or only when I go to work. So they are not, I don't know, accessories that you wear. No, wear it all the time, and it will protect your eyes from unnecessary strain.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much. So now let's get to glaucoma itself.
Okay.
What is glaucoma? And who wants to start?
You go ahead.
All right. So we've heard glaucoma a lot.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about people understanding, just like Dr. Benson is. So I'll just start in a basic way.
Yeah.
Glaucoma is a disease that attacks the optic nerve of the eye.
Okay.
The optic nerve is like a wire that connects your eye to your brain. So it sends the light signals that your eye has gathered on the retina. It sends it to the brain for interpretation.
Okay.
That's wire, in quotes. So if the optic nerve starts getting attacked, then we are looking at glaucoma. Glaucoma is not just any optic nerve disease. It is characterized, usually when there's glaucoma, what happens is that in some cases, a lot of cases, there is increase in the pressure of the eyeball.
Okay.
What we call the intraocular pressure.
Okay.
And then there is also loss of, he mentioned, the field of vision. That's seeing all around, you begin to lose it. Glaucoma attacks that field of vision, but it goes off in a particular way. There's a characteristic pattern that the vision loss is done.
Okay.
So that is what we call glaucoma. We call it a group of diseases that diseases that attack the optic nerve with accompanying increased pressure or not, with characteristic visual field loss. So that's the whole thing about glaucoma. It is not, and this is where in Ghana, glaucoma is not high eye pressure.
Yes.
There was, I believe that was the problem of translating into the local language.
Yeah.
Yes, pressure will win so sometimes people bring their hands for you to measure and see the pressure. So that is not glaucoma. It's the optic nerve with accompanying increase in eye pressure or not.
Okay. Dr. Benson, you wanted to say something?
Yes. So that on glaucoma, you see, the local dialect in Twi translates it as Huntafrai. It's silent, and so whatever it's doing, as Dr. Derry mentioned, every single thing that it's doing is silent. It does that quietly, except in a few cases that you may see some symptoms. It's very silent, and it just goes on to cause the damage before you realize it's stolen everything that is giving you that joy.
Yeah. So what causes it?
So as Doc mentioned, there are risk factors that puts you in that group, and so if the pressures in the eyes are that high, it can cause glaucoma. As he mentioned, not every case of increased pressures in the eyes is a case of glaucoma, and so they are also managed differently. And also people who have family history of glaucoma at high risk. That one, going into science, there is some mutation in the genes that can cause that in a family relation. And then also when we are aging, usually we've seen in our race that getting to the age of 40 years, now there's a possibility of increased pressures which may be accompanied by damage in the optic nerve. And so you're also at risk. And then some people who may have very high myopia are also at risk of getting glaucoma, even though not all myopic patients can get that.
Dr. Benson, please break down myopia for us.
When we talk about myopia, we're talking about a group of people who aren't seeing very well from far, and so they're able to see the things that are in close range.
Okay.
So those people, when they come to the hospital, they are given glasses to help them see very well at far.
Okay.
Now, some of these people, especially when their errors are quite high, and so you see some of them, their glasses are very thick. These people are at high risk of glaucoma.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned that for the most part it's silent.
Yes.
But if there are any signs and symptoms, what should we look out for?
Okay. You'd be lucky to get symptoms. Okay.
Okay.
Normally symptoms, I believe we all agree, symptoms are things that the person feels.
Yeah.
And then the sign is what we can see. Glaucoma usually is called the silent thief of sight because it will not afford you the luxury of symptoms. It gets to a point where it has advanced and now you can see some signs. By that time, a lot of damage has gone on. There's just this particular kind of glaucoma that if you are lucky, you will feel some pain, extreme pain, you feel some nausea, your eye will be red. That's in a particular kind of glaucoma that we call angle closure glaucoma. That one can be an emergency. So then you know that there's something happening, you rush. But then the only thing you would start to notice, if you are very attentive, is that as you start to walk, they say glaucoma has been going on for a while, you start to walk, you start to bump into things.
Okay.
And you wonder why. You are walking in town, you bump into someone's wares or shoulder to shoulder. That could be a sign that your peripheral vision is going. Okay. The other signs could be your doctor looking into your eye and seeing that something may be going on there. Apart from that, I don't know how Dr. Benson has a...
Okay. Dr. Benson, anything to add? Oh, that's fine.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. So you mentioned there are different types of glaucoma. You mentioned one of them, angle closure.
Yes.
Yes. So what are the other types?
Well, largely, we have the congenital glaucoma and acquired glaucoma. The congenital will be, I'll use lay language. It could be either when the child is even in the womb, comes out with the glaucoma, or whilst it's still small, develops the glaucoma. You know, between that maybe 3 years, at most 6 years. You can say it's congenital. There's juvenile, it's part of the congenital anyway. Then we have the acquired glaucoma, which maybe two main. We have the primary open angle glaucoma, which is the commonest form of glaucoma. And then we have what we call the angle closure glaucoma that I mentioned. There's also low tension glaucoma, but primary open angle closure, they are simple. The reason why pressure will build up in your eye is this. In the eye, the reason why your eye is firm is that there is some, in quotes, water or fluid that is inside the eye. It holds the structures firm and makes sure everything is in place. It's also responsible for feeding and nourishing and taking out how do you call it, used products and all that. Lots of things goes on in those liquid. Now, the time the liquid is produced and it drains out. So when it's produced and there's too much production and the drainage is not fast enough, there'll be buildup of fluid. So your eye will become harder, the pressure will be high. The reverse will make the pressure low if there's not enough production and then there's a lot of drainage. So in glaucoma, normally either there's overproduction of the fluid or there is how do you call it, under drainage of the fluid from the eye. That's what causes the pressure to go up. So in primary open angle glaucoma, that place, let's call it the angle that the fluid is supposed to flow through, it's open. Fluid should be able to pass through, but it doesn't pass through fast enough. So we call it open angle glaucoma. In angle closure glaucoma, that pathway out is blocked. Yes.
Right.
And to add to that too, there is another type of glaucoma which is secondary. And so that can be due to a systemic condition or probably someone uses steroids for a long time, and then you induce glaucoma. And then also through an injury, you may lose some parts of the eyes, which may block that angle that you're talking about, building up pressure in the eye. So that's on the secondary side for glaucoma.
So Dr. Derry, you mentioned congenital glaucoma. What would account for that? Why would a child be born already with glaucoma?
Well, if we look at the genetics, if a child is born with a long nose, there's a very high likelihood that maybe both parents or one had a long nose. So if genetically both adults had glaucoma, or one has glaucoma, there is a chance that you could give birth to a child that has glaucoma.
Right. So in our setting, we attribute a lot of things of our conditions with myths. What are some of the very common myths you've heard concerning glaucoma? Dr. Benson, let me start with you.
The myths are many. You know, some people will say glaucoma is a spiritual thing, and so if someone has it, they have to go pray a lot. Some people also say, well, when they look at your eyes, they can see clearly that you have glaucoma. They are not clinicians, just they can see that, they feel that there's something on the eyes. Other people also say that, well, when you wear glasses for a long time, that's when you get glaucoma. A whole lot of misconceptions about glaucoma.
Where I have seen people who are in their quest to look for solutions to will try different kinds of things, like some water. You know, there's some water they mention. I don't want to mention where, so anybody goes to look for it. You know, or they will talk about herbal preparation and all of that. I think in all our conversation, one thing that we have not clearly stated is that as we speak now, there is no known cure for glaucoma. There is no known cure. In other words, like they say in Chi, a draw a bit too you know, like something that will really let it go. We don't have any cure like that, like malaria, you are done. But then if you do have glaucoma, it doesn't mean that you are going blind or you have to go blind. We can manage or treat. Treatment and curing are two different things. We can manage the condition. There are lots of Ghanaians around. If I am not mistaken, there is this star that even came out openly. I don't know if it is Yvonne Nelson. I am not. She came out openly to advocate, talk on glaucoma awareness. One of the stars. So there are people around, and she's still walking around. She's okay. She can see. So if you do have glaucoma, yes, it can be treated, but it cannot be cured. I'm saying this because of the many things people will say. That there is this, there is that.
So we've mentioned different tests. Which of these tests is able to pick up glaucoma?
So usually when you walk into any clinic, the clinician will have a look with an ophthalmoscope just to see the back. That's a basic test to see. Once you see damage there, signs showing damage there, then they go on to check the pressures in the eyes. And usually the pressures will correlate with the damage that is going on in there. So there's a range, just like we have the systemic pressures, a range that it should be in. So if you are going higher than that, then it raises eyebrow. And so the clinician will want to do further tests. One of the tests is what we've mentioned already, the visual field test, to see if you are losing the peripheral sides. So if that is noticed, then we go on to manage the condition. There is the OCT tool, which also gives a structural view of what is really going on, to see the extent of damage that has been caused by the glaucoma.
Whilst he has said that, sometimes glaucoma it's tricky sometimes for us to even agree on this is glaucoma. There are some people that it comes, it looks like glaucoma, but we may have to do the tests. Sometimes we'll tell them, come back in some months, let's repeat, let's compare notes. Because there are some eyes that will look like they are glaucoma, but they are not. I remember one case, very astonishing. The guy when I saw him, it looked like one of those that you say, this is advanced glaucoma. If you are not careful, he's going to be blind soon.
Yeah.
Normally, I mean, you could have had that confidence easily, but I decided to follow protocol. Then you realize that no, it is not glaucoma. And he's still fine. He's still walking about.
Okay.
Yes, I don't have his permission to mention his name. Yeah. So when people come to us, maybe some people are watching, they've been to the doctor, and he's saying glaucoma is like he's not settled yet. It is a normal thing. Until we are sure that this is glaucoma, we will not want to tell you that this is glaucoma.
Yeah.
So we'll do the visual field test to see how wide your eye can see. We will do the OCT that he's saying. That one is optical coherence tomography.
Okay.
You can forget after this. That one checks how the structure, how thick the optic nerve fiber is in the various areas, to see whether you are losing nerve fiber of the optic nerve or you are not. Then we check the pressure. We look at all this in a wider perspective. Sometimes we even consult. Yeah, so I can seek, I am a clinician, I see, I'm not sure, but I call my colleague to have an independent view from another side before we can decide. But there are others that are clear cut, then yes, we go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, Dr. Benson, you wanted to add something?
Oh, no, that's it.
Okay. So I have glaucoma confirmed. How often should I get reviews or eye tests?
Okay.
All right. Okay. So if you have glaucoma and it's confirmed, usually we will want you to be coming in monthly.
Okay.
And that is because we will want to be monitoring the pressures, especially if the pressures are high. We want to be monitoring them to be sure they are stable. To the point where the person's pressures are stable and we feel that we can be giving them 2-3 months before they come, then we are sure that within that period, the pressures are still in check. And so usually we advise monthly. There are some people who may find themselves in areas that traveling to go see the eye doctor will be difficult. And so they are given 3 months because of their location. But preferably monthly will do, so that we can monitor the pressures.
Okay. Anything?
That's and people should try not to miss their
appointments and reviews.
In fact, in practice, although we would like to see you monthly, when we find there are certain people who are so very dedicated to this management that we are very confident to give them come in 3 months. So maybe in a year we may see you maybe 4 times or something. It's not as too tedious as yeah.
So we mentioned there's no cure.
Yes.
But what are the different ways in which glaucoma can be managed?
Okay, so we already there is a medical intervention that we look at first of all. That involves eye drops. So we know that glaucoma is a disease of the optic nerve. We do not know exactly what organism or what this causes it per se. It's not fully known, but it has some genetic underpinnings. What we know from research is that when we manage the pressure of the person, the optic nerve damage slows down very significantly, or if in a good way, it can even halt for a period. So when the pressure is well managed, this happens. There are some people too that definitely, their pressures are not managed well, even with the drops. Yes, there are some that you would, I had a discussion with one client even today, and surgery is being considered. That's the next step. There are some people who don't want the drops. They just want, do surgery for me. So in the surgery, we will do something to help with the way the fluid drains out of the eye so that the pressure is kept well managed. So that one, so that you don't necessarily need to be using drops for that, or else we'll give you drops. There are some people that unfortunately their pressures just go too high, the drops are not able to manage. We may do surgery, but after the surgery they may still need the drops. Yeah, so glaucoma is either medical or surgical in its approach. Mostly medical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But with the drops, what exactly are they achieving? Because you mentioned it can be either open angle or closed angle, right? So what exactly do the drops do, Dr. Benson?
Okay, so the drops are doing two things. Either to increase the drainage of the aqueous from the eyes, or to reduce the production if the production is too much.
Okay.
So these are the two things that they can be doing. And so all the drugs are targeted to do so. Some are combinations that will be doing both.
Okay.
Some are also just to target the drainage only, and then others for the reduced production to keep the pressures within the normal range.
Okay.
Occasionally, we may give some tablets for you to take, depending on, there are certain cases where somebody's pressure may just spike up and dangerously high, and we need to get it down immediately. We can give some tablets once in a while for the person to have his pressure reduced. One other thing that from reading, one interesting thing we notice from reading is that glaucoma is one of the diseases that appears due to what we call free radical damage in the body. I don't know how to break that down. So essentially, chemical reactions take place in the body. Some of the products, there's a product that you need, and then there's a byproduct that you don't need, but it eventually has to be formed. Some of those byproducts are sort of harmful to the body. So certain things are antioxidants, like the ones we find in fruits, vitamin C. They take care of all of these things so that we are healthy. In glaucoma, we realize that free radical damage, if it's high in the body, it's also one of those things that go with glaucoma. So I usually would also advise that people who have glaucoma eat well, fruits, vegetables, do exercise. And we can actually, we may also decide to add some supplements to help strengthen the optic nerve, make it a bit more resilient to the damage.
So with the medical and surgical, with either of them, does it reverse the damage?
Oh, good question.
Dr. Benson.
It does not. Yes, that's a simple way to put it. When the damage is caused, it's caused. I mean, now we say there's neural plasticity and all that. But in the case of glaucoma, what is damaged is gone. So you realize that we mentioned that you'll be losing the temporal sides. When they are gone, they are gone. So it's just like you seeing through a tube. When that side is gone, what you have is what is left. And so the main goal of the treatment is to slow down the progression as much as possible.
Dr. Derry, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just say that people should not think that when I'm not using the drops now, I go and use the drops so my eyes will get better, just like you were asking. So if you are using the drops, you are protecting what you have. You stop your management, you lose ground. And when you get back to your management, you are starting from where you are. You are not going back to where you were before.
And to add to that, that is one of the biggest challenges we have in managing glaucoma, because the person can come, they are on medication. We see that the pressures are in check, the damage is so much controlled, but they are expecting to see as they were a baby, and so they are not seeing that change. They buy the drugs 1 year, 2 years, and then they are fed up, and so they stop, and before they realize it's going off.
Thank you so much. We'll take a quick break here. I hope you're learning a lot. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Michael and Ernest, in Luke chapter 10, verse 38 to 42, it talks about Mary and Martha while Jesus visited them at home. What's your take on Jesus' response to Martha, that Mary had chosen right? Ernest.
Okay, for me, I think it's about priority. Mary decided to sit at the feet of Jesus and listen to the word of God, while Martha chose to be in the kitchen. And cook.
Okay.
I'll beg to differ. I think they needed the food to get the energy to have that discussion in the first place. So from that perspective, I think Martha chose right.
Well, I'm not trying to say that Martha didn't choose right, but what I'm saying is it's about placing God first.
Chaplain, what do you think about what Ernest is saying?
So like Michael, Ernest, and Finley, this is why you need to join us on Hope Bible School. Here is where we study the Bible to understand what it truly means. You also get to ask all the questions that bothers your mind, from politics to health to doctrine to anything that is bothering your mind. We have introduced a segment in the program which we call the Sax moment, which is simple answers to sample questions. And so we will answer all your questions for you. What is more, we also get to treat you with beautiful music from our array of musicians that we have. And so join us on Hope Bible School and let's study the Word of God together.
Hope channel is my favorite Christian channel. The best thing about it is that you can have it everywhere you go. All you need to do is to download the Hope channel app on your Play Store or Apple Store and get all the programs you want to watch.
Welcome back to the consulting room. We are talking about glaucoma, a very preventable cause of blindness. And we've been talking about the modalities of management. There is no cure, but there are various ways to manage it. So before we went on the break, we were talking about the management, specifically for the surgery. You mentioned some people don't like the drops, so they might opt for surgery. But there's specific indications, like people who absolutely need surgery.
Oh, yes. There are some people that, I mean, depending on how the glaucoma came to be and how it's behaving, there are people whose pressures do not respond to the drops.
Okay.
So we give them drops and the pressure is not coming down. We change it to a stronger drop, it's not coming down. We combine, it comes down a bit and then spikes even higher. You know, what happens is for such people, if we do not do something quick, the raise in the pressure will keep causing damage to the eye. So it's sort of a race against time.
Yeah.
Maybe even with all that, we give them the oral medication and it's still not responding satisfactorily. We will not be able, we won't have an option but to go in surgically and then do so. For such people, yes, surgery is highly recommended. Okay. Because if you do not do the surgery, you may even lose the eye. Yeah.
Okay. Is it possible to have glaucoma of just one eye and not the other eye, or it comes in both at the same time?
Normally, it comes in both.
Okay.
But it's possible.
Okay. Okay. But for the option for surgery, how long does it take you to decide that, okay, now we are wasting time, let's go for surgery, Dr. Benson?
Okay, so as Dr. Derry mentioned earlier, most times it depends on what the clinician is seeing that will inform him too. So some people, you can just see them and then you realize that you manage them for about a few months and you know you have to do surgery for them. Okay. There are some people that may be on medication for a long time and at some point they are not responding to the medication anymore. In all that too, it depends on the response from the client. So if you want to do the surgery and they don't want it, you can only continue managing with the drops. Yes, and so we look at all that. But usually there is not a fixed time to it.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Also, for surgery, normally when people are freshly diagnosed of glaucoma, number one, they are young, number two, we also consider other things. For example, if somebody is young, the person's life expectancy is quite, I mean, you expect him to live for longer. Yeah. How long is he going to be using drugs in his system, thinking of side effects, and then him getting resistant to the drug and all of that? So for people like that, people who get diagnosed, who are young, who are early, yes, we can also, if they are brave enough, or, I mean, not even brave enough alone, but it's advised that for such people, we do surgery first. So there are people that have glaucoma who were diagnosed early, they were young, had surgery done, they are not on drops. Okay. So all they will do is perhaps they will do a yearly check or something just to see that everything is going on well, but they are not using drops at all. Okay.
What's the prognosis of the surgery? Dr. Benson?
So for that, you know, a surgery is a surgery. Yeah. So the healing process also comes into play. Usually, the surgeries go very well, especially when you have taken into account everything that you have to, and then you take the person to the theater. It's expected that the surgery will go very well. And so for that, you are expecting that whatever vision was left that you went in for the surgery, they will still have it. People may not really benefit so much from the surgery when it's almost too late and then they come in. So someone with cataracts will come, you take the cataract off, they realize that, okay, something was blocking my eyes, now it's not there anymore, and so I can see. But with this, if they come in with the whole temporal sides gone already, and then they just have that small vision left, and then you're taking them to a theater, sometimes it even becomes a waste of money to them because they feel that they've lost it all already. But when it's done early, when there's not so much damage, because you really enjoy the benefits of the surgery. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
When you said the prognosis, okay. Well, honestly, there is something that we call the wipeout effect, where you go to do surgery for the eye, and if the eye was seeing 60%, when the surgery is done, we say, the surgery was a huge success, and the person is seeing 50% now. You know, people may not understand. This is with regards to glaucoma. Yeah. Why are we saying it's a huge success? We are looking at it long term. In the long term, you can still retain your 50% and see. Instead of you not doing the surgery, having your 60%, and then it's dropping to 40, 35 in the long term. So the 50 is a huge, I mean, the deal is a very good deal. So there is that chance because we are not the creator. Yes, we do what we can do best. But that is actually a real fact that we also have to know. You may have what we call the wipeout effect, where your vision would be slightly lesser than what you came in with. But in the end, it's a far better trade-off. Yes.
Yeah. But after surgery, is it likely that glaucoma can recur? Is that possible?
It is already there. It will not. I get what you mean. But yes, there are some surgeries that fail. And even there are other surgeries that are not glaucoma surgeries, but they can. When he mentioned secondary glaucomas, for example, you do a cataract surgery. In the cataract, you take out the cataracts, the person is seeing. And then you don't know where that comes from. All of a sudden, the pressure goes very high. That we call them pressure spikes. Just goes up at once. You try to manage it, it comes down. Another time, it spikes again. You know, this can lead to glaucoma. So yes, surgery can also cause the spikes. Some surgeries will fail, and then you get the opposite.
So before we continue, there's a question from a viewer. She's asking, as an individual with a family with eye issue history, how do I make sure I don't become a victim?
The easiest way, have periodic eye exam. Yes.
Right. So still on glaucoma, the genetic predisposition. So if you have parents, or maybe even one parent who has it, how early should you start getting screened for it?
Yes, so I think we've mentioned this earlier, that right from the beginning, 6 months, if you feel 6 months is even too early, at least a year old, you should be examined. And you know, sometimes it may skip some family relations. And so you may feel that, well, my brother doesn't have it, even though my mother has it, and so I should forget about it. But you may eventually get it.
Yeah.
And you may skip a generation.
Yes.
So one generation can have it, the next generation doesn't have it, and then the following one can have people getting it. And then we realized that glaucoma is more prevalent in men than in women. Yeah, even though it affects both.
Yeah. Right.
And most often the men go blind the most because we don't really respond to, in fact we don't really take the medication serious. Women do better using the drops for the men.
Yeah. So the drops are used daily?
Yeah, that depends on what drops are, but mostly daily. Mostly daily. There are some that you may use a few times a day, twice, 3 times, so or once a day. It depends on your pressure, the state of your eye, and what your clinician thinks would help you. You also consider your schedule as well, and what is practical for you in terms of you complying with the treatment.
The management. Yeah. So what happens if someone forgets to use their eye drops?
Usually the drops are given, if it's twice a day, then you are usually expected to do that 12 hourly. If you have to drop it at 7 and then you miss and you drop it at 8, practically it's still fine. But if you miss at 7 and then you are going to drop at 5 p.m., knowing that you are going to drop another one at 7 p.m., then I mean it's better you wait and drop at 7 p.m. And then also some of the drops are for specific times. So someone may be using one at night and then another drop for morning and then evening. And because probably they missed one dose, they will want to mix them up. And so they missed one yesterday, they were supposed to do at night only. Then they feel like they should do morning today for that one drop and do another one in the evening. When we do that, we are just doing an overdose. Yes, and sometimes in some cases, the pressures drop drastically, and that can also be harmful.
So too much is too bad, too low too is too bad. Okay. So with the surgery, how soon after can you get back to work?
Well, that depends. Most surgeries in about 6 weeks thereabouts you should be able to get back, depending on there are several things. You know, even in cataract, for example, we also tell you 6 weeks you can get back to work. But if you are able to adhere to the post-surgical dictates or advice, all that, then you'll be fine. But if there are no complications, if there are complications, it may take longer. It may take longer. You have to be careful after surgery.
And I think sometimes it's also depends on the type of surgery you went in for.
The type of surgery, So that's a key one.
Yeah, some of them may take a bit longer for you to heal from the wounds. But the minimally invasive glaucoma surgeries, they will take quite a shorter time. So you can resume to work quite early.
But there's some surgeries that may be just laser. And others that will actually cut.
Okay. So how much is the surgery? Like just the range. How much? How much?
That's a very interesting question. You know, we're talking sometime about the economic burden of glaucoma, and glaucoma is not very cheap to treat. So you realize that most people would want to do the drops. But even with the drops, not everybody is able to afford all the drops because you have to use them for a long period of time. I haven't worked in the public sector. I haven't asked how much a glaucoma surgery costs now. I don't know what the NHIS would do. It will be a bit difficult for me personally to
give an estimate to it. That's a what about you?
I also find myself in a similar situation. But usually in the government sector, it's less than the private. Yeah, so the NHIS is taking part of it. It can be about 1/3 or half of what you'd have been paying for in the private sector.
Okay. But are there resources available to help people who have glaucoma in a setting? Yeah.
Okay, so when we talk of resources, well, are there, I'm thinking generally, are there clinics? I think that we've made quite some gains in accessibility, access to eye care, private sector, government sector. We've made quite some gains. Instrumentation, we have made quite some gains as well. You realize that our clinics are getting better equipped, even in the government sector. So when people come for their review, we are able to check their pressure, we are able to see that or do other tests. We are not where we should be, but we've definitely made gains. There are some people that in the end, maybe they came late and the glaucoma is advanced and their vision is very bad or it's gone terrible. They may have to do what we call low vision assessment. So what's low vision in simple terms is when somebody's vision gets so poor that he's unable to do his daily activities with ease, like walking, reading, and all of that. So there are a few centers that cater for people with low vision to help them, low vision rehabilitation, to help them perform certain tasks that they love to do well or to enhance that for them. Yes, so the Kolebu, Comfort Noche Teaching Hospital, the Ghana Blind Union, I think Koforidua Hospital, I think should have that. I'm not sure, I don't know about the Tamale Teaching Hospital yet. I cannot tell yet.
Okay. I think this will be our final question. What is the effect of glaucoma on the individual, maybe family and the nation as a whole? Dr. Benson,
so
you can start.
We've talked about the economic burden of glaucoma. Just imagine you putting drops on the eyes, you are spending 200 cedis worth of drops on the eyes every month, aside the other things that you'll be spending money on. So it's expensive. Also, if you lose your vision, now you become a burden on people. And so you can't work, they have to cater for you and then also take care of your needs. And that becomes so much of a problem. And so generally, when someone has glaucoma, there is so much burden on that individual, the family, and then the nation as a whole. We lose someone who can do productive work, and the family also loses someone who can be taking care of the family. And you also lose your sight because now you can't do anything for yourself.
Dr. Derry, any addition?
Glaucoma is, we have called it a silent thief of sight over and over. I think that let's not take it for granted, even that we hear this education over and over and over. Let's actually take steps, especially the men. Research will tell you that if the man in the house takes charge to do something, there's a very high chance that everyone else follows. It's even with going to church. If a man is going to church, there's a high chance that everyone else goes to church.
Follow,
yes, compared to a woman. So the men should actually take charge of the eye health of their family. They should take it as part of their responsibility.
Right.
And so before we go,
you can take your final words then.
Glaucoma, I have seen people who are very well to do but going blind with glaucoma. And sometimes they come in the consulting room, they cry. They actually cry because sometimes they are just reflecting on the fact that they can really afford whatever it takes, but now they've lost it. And so we shouldn't take it for granted. Some people feel that for those who don't have are the people that are really going to suffer from glaucoma. But we've looked at the risk factors and we are all at risk. And so you make sure that if you have it, you continue with your medication. I have patients who sometimes will even just call just for you to know that they are really sure of what they are doing. And I really like that. They can even call late and I don't mind because we are protectively together trying to protect their eyes. The other thing about glaucoma management is that because it takes a conscious effort to be doing it, especially if you are doing drops every day, at a point you may get tired. And so let's encourage our relatives or close friends who have glaucoma. It's not easy putting drops on the eyes every day.
Yeah.
I mean, someone may go for a program somewhere, may have forgotten the drops in the house. It's a whole big deal. So let's be encouraging people who have it to be using the drops, and also be having our eye exams. I have always said this, that there are so many people out there who have glaucoma that if they did not just undermine what glaucoma would have done for them, they would have their eyes out there and then enjoying. There are so many big people out there who are suffering. So let's all take this serious and then be sure that we are taking control of our eyes. It's our eyes. Everything is about us. So if you have it and even everyone is teasing you that you're always visiting the clinic, just go. You know what you are getting from it. We shouldn't be worried about what people will say. And for the economic burden, it's expensive, but we are hoping that things will get better. But for now, I always say that it is better to spend on the eyes now than to lose it. If you are spending 200 cedis on the eyes every month, it is better than to lose it. So even if you don't have, you can borrow to get the medication.
Right. Dr. Derry, final words?
I think he has said it all, and let's take our eye health seriously.
Right. Viewers, you've heard it. Let's take our eye health seriously. Let's go for our checkups. Let's comply with the management. Glaucoma is something that we can prevent, or blindness can be prevented from glaucoma. So let's take note of that. It's not a death sentence when you have glaucoma. If you comply with the health practitioners' management, we can have a very healthy life with our eyes, both eyes healthy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you've learned a lot, and we hope to see you again. Have a good night.